I once believed that happiness did not need to be loud to be real. It lived quietly in routine, in familiarity, in the comfort of knowing that someone else understood the unspoken parts of me. Our life was not glamorous, but it felt solid. We woke up to the same mornings, shared the same small conversations, and ended our days side by side, believing that consistency itself was proof of love. I trusted him not because he promised perfection, but because he felt dependable. He felt safe. In those early days, trust was effortless. I never checked his phone or questioned his explanations. When he said he was tired, I believed him. When he said work was stressful, I supported him. Love, to me, meant giving someone the benefit of the doubt without keeping score. We laughed easily then, over simple things that did not matter much but felt important because they were ours. Even silence between us felt comfortable, not heavy. Friends often commented on how calm our relationship seemed. They said we balanced each other well. I took quiet pride in that. I believed we had built something mature, something lasting. I thought problems announced themselves clearly, that danger arrived with warning signs impossible to ignore. I did not realize that the most damaging changes often arrive disguised as ordinary days. Looking back now, I can see the cracks forming long before I acknowledged them. There were moments when he seemed distant, his attention divided even when we were together. His responses became shorter, his smiles less frequent. At the time, I told myself it was normal. Life gets busy, people grow tired, moods shift. I did not want to be the kind of person who searched for problems where none were proven to exist. There were evenings when he stayed quiet, staring at nothing, lost in thoughts he never shared. When I asked what was wrong, he would say it was nothing, just exhaustion. I believed him because believing felt easier than doubting. Doubt would have required courage I did not yet know I needed. I chose comfort over curiosity, peace over truth. I did not understand then that trust, once taken for granted, becomes invisible until the moment it is broken. And by the time I sensed something was wrong, the foundation I believed in was already weakening beneath my feet. The change was gradual, so subtle that I almost missed it. Almost. He was still physically present, but emotionally he drifted further away each day. Conversations that once flowed easily now felt forced. He listened less, responded later, and often seemed distracted. His phone became an extension of his hand, always close, always guarded. I noticed how he tilted the screen away, how notifications were silenced, how passwords suddenly mattered. At first, I blamed myself. I wondered if I was imagining things, if I was becoming insecure for no reason. I told myself that trust meant not interrogating every change. Still, unease settled in my chest, quiet but persistent. It followed me through the day and kept me awake at night. I replayed conversations in my mind, searching for reassurance that no longer came naturally. There were moments that stayed with me longer than they should have. A missed call that went unanswered for hours. A smile that appeared while he read something on his phone, a smile I had not seen directed at me in weeks. When I asked about his day, his answers were vague, stripped of detail, as if he were careful not to reveal too much. I began to feel like an outsider in my own relationship, standing close yet excluded from something important. The distance between us grew heavier, filled with words we did not say. I wanted to ask direct questions, but fear held me back. I was afraid of confirming what my instincts were already whispering. I was afraid that once spoken aloud, the truth would become irreversible. One evening, I heard him laughing quietly in another room. It was not loud or obvious, just soft enough to feel private. That sound stayed with me long after it faded. It did not belong to me anymore, and that realization hurt more than I expected. I stood there, unsure whether to step forward or retreat. In the end, I did nothing. Silence had become my defense. But doubt does not disappear when ignored. It grows. Each unexplained moment added weight to my suspicion, until trust felt uneven, like something I was carrying alone. I began to understand that love without honesty slowly turns into loneliness. And deep down, I knew that whatever he was hiding could not remain hidden forever. The truth did not arrive with chaos. It arrived quietly, almost casually, which made it even more devastating. A message left visible, a name I did not recognize, words that did not belong to me. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding, my hands cold. There was no confusion about what I was seeing. The meaning was unmistakable. In that moment, time seemed to slow. Every doubt I had pushed aside suddenly made sense. Every late night, every distant look, every guarded gesture aligned into a single, painful truth. I felt numb, as if my mind refused to accept what my eyes already knew. I wanted it to be a misunderstanding, but denial had no place left to hide. When I confronted him, there was no dramatic reaction. No shouting, no desperate denial. He looked tired, almost relieved, as if the secret had become too heavy to carry. He admitted that he had crossed a line, one he knew he should never have approached. His voice was calm, controlled, as though he were discussing a poor decision rather than confessing a betrayal. I listened in silence, realizing that explanations could not undo what had been done. The betrayal was not just in his actions, but in the choices that led to them. He chose secrecy. He chose distance. He chose to protect his comfort at the expense of our trust. That was the line he crossed, and it was deeper than I had imagined. What hurt the most was understanding that while I was holding on to the idea of us, he had already stepped outside of it emotionally. The person I loved felt unfamiliar, separated from me by choices I never agreed to. In that moment, I understood that some lines, once crossed, cannot be erased, no matter how sincere the regret. The days that followed were quiet and heavy. There was no dramatic ending, no immediate resolution. Instead, there was space, filled with reflection and pain. I questioned everything, my judgment, my trust, my understanding of love. Healing did not happen quickly. Some days felt manageable, others felt unbearable. But slowly, the fog began to lift. I realized that betrayal forces clarity. It strips away illusions and reveals what truly matters. I stopped asking why he did what he did and started asking what I needed to move forward. I learned that forgiveness does not always mean staying. Sometimes it means choosing yourself, even when that choice is painful. In time, the anger softened into acceptance. The memories remained, but they no longer controlled me. I understood that crossing certain lines changes people permanently, and that love alone cannot survive without honesty. The relationship ended not with hatred, but with understanding. He crossed a line that could never be undone. And through that loss, I learned the importance of never crossing my own boundaries again. That lesson stayed with me, long after everything else faded.